friends, it's Gloria. Welcome back to another video. Today's gonna be a book tag. Thank you, Brittany from Literarily Smitten, for tagging me in this video. This is gonna be the Accomplished Woman book tag, which was originally created by Courtney Reeds. I will link that video down below, and it was all inspired by Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Now, spoilers, I am currently reading this book for the very first time. A reading vlog is coming your way shortly. Yes, it's true. I have never read this book before up until this point. However, I am very familiar with the storyline because Pride and Prejudice, the 2005 Keira Knightley version, is my all-time favorite movie. I absolutely love it. So I'm familiar with the story. I'm currently in the middle of the book, and it's Women's History Month. So I feel like this is a perfect combination to not only do this tag because it's all about accomplished women, but because I'm also reading this book. So perfect timing. For those that aren't familiar with Pride and Prejudice though, there is a scene where Mr. Darcy and Caroline Bingley talk about the attributes of an accomplished woman during this time period and what it means to them for a woman to be accomplished. And so these next 9 questions all have to do with those attributes that are described. So let's get into it. The first attribute is music. And the question is, what is your favorite literary musician? Now this question really threw me for a loop. Right off the bat, I was like, I have no idea. I have not read really any books that have like music as a main theme. I'm not musical myself, so already one against me. I love listening to music, but I don't know how to play anything. I took like piano lessons for like a hot second and it sucked. And I really haven't read any like biographies or historical fiction or anything that has to do with music. So instead, I'm going to talk about a book that has music in the title, and that is The Music of Bees by Aline Garvin. I read this in the summer of 2021, and this is all about a sweet little Hood River community, about a woman who is a beekeeper and 2 other younger male characters that are also like dealing with something in life. Bees at the heart of the story really bring everyone together. Now, 2 other books that I have not read but have to do with music, I think. I could totally be wrong. The Piano Teacher by Janice Y.K. Lee. This book has been on my shelves for a very, very long time. This is set in 1942 Hong Kong. I don't know if it has to do with piano, but I'm going to assume it does because of the title. This other one is called The Healing of Natalie Curtis by Jane Kirkpatrick. And there's music notes all on the cover. And so this whole story is about a woman that is recapturing her love of music after, I'm assuming, some tragedy that stopped her from enjoying it. So I have 2 books that have to do with music that I haven't read, and one that really doesn't have anything to do with music, has to do with bees, but music's in the title, and it was a great book. Moving on. So the second attribute that a woman should have is singing, which is giving a poetry recommendation. I have 2 recommendations for you. The first one is a recent read of mine, and that is The Lost Spells by Robert Macfarlane and Jackie Morris. This was a beautiful collection of poetry, of nature poetry, as well as amazing illustrations. It really surprised me by how like beautiful and impactful it was. It really felt like a piece of artwork. And then the second collection of poetry that I would recommend is All Along You Were Blooming, Thoughts for Boundless Living by Morgan Harper Nichols. This was a beautiful collection on themes of love and grace. Morgan Harper Nichols is a beautiful illustrator. She has an Instagram where she just creates amazing artwork as well. The next question is, what is a book that has a beautiful cover? And that has to do with the drawing attribute. I have 5 books to show you because I love a beautiful cover. I love to admire books by their cover. I have so much joy when not only the book contents are good, but there's actually some effort behind the cover design. So I love all the graphic designers who make book covers. Please do more, and please do better for some genres. But I have a few books here that I absolutely love the covers of. This one I've mentioned way too much. The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna. You can't really see it, but there's some gold reflection in it. This is the UK edition. I just love the color. I love the print. I love the little gold foiling. It's stunning. Another book that I just adore the cover of is The Bees by Lillian Paul. This was a very, very unique read, and the cover is also stunning. It has some really cool texture and lighting as well, and I just think it's super fun. I might be a little bit biased because I'm obsessed with bees, but this cover is beautiful. Another one that has stunning gold accents is Romanoff. This one has all the Russian-y vibes. I haven't read it, so I don't know about the contents of it, but I think the cover is beautiful. Another one that's actually also randomly set in Russia is Disappearing Earth. I think this cover is beautiful. I love the purple blue gradient. I love the little shadowy figures. I just think that this is a really, really cool cover and evokes a lot of emotion in it actually. And finally, a nonfiction, which is the category I was talking about that sometimes needs a lot of help because some nonfiction covers are really bad, but some are really nice. And I haven't read this one either, but I really love it. Elizabeth and Margaret the intimate world of the Windsor sisters. And I just think the photograph is really cool, and I love the hand scripted title. I think the pink with the gray and this photograph, which like evokes maybe the theme of the book, which is like these sisters not fully getting along all the time. I just think this is a really great nonfiction cover, so can't wait to read that one too. Moving on to number 4, which is dancing. The one attribute that I actually have. Not that I'm a great dancer, but I love to dance, and I can dance a little bit of certain styles. But this prompt is to talk about a book with a lively plot. And I too couldn't just pick one, so I have a few recommendations in a few various genres. The first one is a sci-fi, and that is The Martian by Andy Weir. Very unputdownable, very action-packed. You're rooting for the character, there's a survival element to the story, and it was just funny and humorous too. Really incredible book. A thriller recommendation that is just non-stop action-packed is No Exit by Taylor Adams. My goodness, that was a crazy thriller experience. I have not read a book like it since. A nonfiction recommendation is American Kingpin. This was my first exposure really to narrative nonfiction as well as to a true crime take, and this book was wild. It was so fascinating. This is all about the underground black market, Silk Road, like the Amazon of the dark web, and the creator behind it and the FBI investigating what was happening. It was so intense. It was so interesting. Would recommend. I don't think this book gets enough love. A contemporary that was very lively, very exciting was Big Little Lies by Liane Moriarty. If you haven't read this yet, I would recommend. It was so fun. It was so interesting. I loved the community. I loved the characters. It was also pretty like mysterious. I loved the plot. It went all over the place and I was really into it. And 2 historical fictions, because I can't not recommend historical fiction. The first one is City of Thieves by David Benioff. This is a short little book. This is set during World War II, St. Petersburg. 2 friends on this adventure to survive, and they encounter a lot of different characters, and it is very jam-packed, full of adventure, full of action. Absolutely loved this book. And finally, Where the Lost Wander by Amy Harmon. A historical fiction that is maybe deceivingly supposed to be like long and drawn out and sweet, but literally right in the very beginning, the opening chapter is so full of action and so shocking and sets the stage for the pace of the book and for what's happening. It hooked me from the very beginning and I could not stop reading it. This was a read in one day kind of book. It was so gripping. It was so good. One of my favorite books of all time. Number 5 is Modern Languages. What is your favorite translated fiction? This is definitely an area that I need to grow on and read more of. I have not read very much translated books. The one I'll mention is Night by Elie Wiesel. I believe this was first originally translated from French, and this one is very well known and well loved at this point, but if you for some reason have not read or heard of it yet, this is a non-fiction account of Elie Wiesel's experience in the Nazi concentration camps and his story, and it's absolutely incredible. It's also a very short read, but a very impactful read. And the other translated book that I actually read last year that I would definitely recommend is Ukrainian and Russian Notebooks, Life and Death Under Soviet Rule by Igor. This one, I think, especially with what is happening right now, is a very important read and a very interesting one. It's also quite quick. This is a graphic novel. It's originally written in Italian. The author is an Italian writer and comic artist, and he created this historical account highlighting several aspects of what life in Ukraine was like under Soviet rule, and then a certain journalist in Russia that was killed because of what she was uncovering with the Chechen War. There's a lot of like really interesting and absolutely tragic moments of history that is not widely known in here. This is not a perfect book by any means. There was a little bit of like disjointedness and not complete flow of the story, but it gave a really good base foundation of some of these historical moments, and I think is a lot more easily accessible for the average reader, because maybe someone who's not going to pick up a very large nonfiction account of that historical moment would pick up this graphic novel, and I think will also give you really interesting perspective with what's happening now and what Russia has done in the past with Ukraine before as well. Number 6, and the description for the woman was Something in Her Air and Manner of Walking, and the book recommendation is to give a book with a strong atmosphere. I have a few for that as well. This one, like when you say atmosphere for a book, my mind immediately goes to Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. Really, the setting and the atmosphere feels claustrophobic at times. It feels like it's its own character. And I think why this author I'm just so excited to read more of. She does a really incredible job creating the sense of atmosphere. I feel like at this point, this book is like mixed reviews. Some people love it, some people hate it. I definitely fall on the love it side, and this is a book that got me excited about a lot of other classics. And I recommend going in blind because that's what I did. I did not know anything about it, and I'm really glad I didn't because it surprised me. Another classic that evokes atmosphere is Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. I read this in December and I loved it. What a beautiful story. It had amazing coming of age, amazing family dynamics, but the author didn't shy away from the atmosphere and the setting and the time and place that these characters were written in, and I absolutely love this one. Number 7 is the tone of her voice, her address and expressions, and the prompt is to recommend a book with beautiful writing. I really struggled with this one because I am not that analytical of a reader to recognize beautiful writing, good writing versus bad writing. I really rate and react and assess books based on my feeling. Are they compulsive? Are they interesting? Do I care about the characters? Do I care about the plot? I think beautiful writing and good writing obviously makes all of those things wonderful. However, I don't really know a book that's like specifically I would call out for its beautiful writing. I don't pay attention to that as I'm reading. I just pay attention to like what I'm feeling when I'm reading the book. So I'm just gonna kind of like not really answer this question and just bring up 3 books that I already talked about. The first one is The Lost Spells. This was a beautiful writing of poetry, and I think poetry is really where your writing stands out because there's a very little amount of writing and the words that you use all have to really matter and make an impact. And then like I mentioned, these 2 classics, Rebecca and Little Women, and I think a lot of classics do have beautiful writing and they stand the test of time because their writing was so important. Kind of a cop-out answer, kind of not really answering, but that's really just me being honest. I haven't been reviewing books for a very long time. I haven't been really like thinking about books and being a critical reader long enough for me to recognize, yes, that's beautiful writing. I do not come from an English background or like any kind of like literature study background, and so I don't really recognize, I don't have the skills to recognize what beautiful writing means. And number 8 is Improvement of Her Mind by Extensive Reading, and the prompt is, what is your next read? I actually have several books on the go, no surprise there, but I'm currently in the midst of like a deep Women's History Month reading right now. I'm currently in the middle of A Well-Behaved Woman, which is a novel about Alva Vanderbilt, and this one was very interesting. This one has also really good atmosphere if I think about it. I haven't really read a book yet set in the Gilded Age in New York City. This book is full of real historical figures that were alive during that time and like what high society in New York City was like, and I'm really enjoying it. Another one that's nonfiction that received some love last year is The Light of Days. This is all about the women resistance fighters that were alive during Hitler's ghettos and the work that they were doing. But once I'm done with those 2, I am dying to pick up Lady Almina and the Real Downton Abbey. This one is all about Highclere Castle and the people that lived in it. I am actually going to visit the Highclere Castle. I'm such a fan of Downton Abbey. I'm so stoked to go on my UK trip and visit this historic building and learn about the figures that also dwelled in it and the work that they did. I'm excited about this one. I heard it's great. And then I have a whole vlog where I read basically all of the middle grade books for middle grade March, but the one I have left is to read a book that is older than me, and I would love to pick up The Secret Garden. So that's my next classic that I hope to check off the list and also fulfill that last prompt. And finally, the last question is, based on those attributes, would you be considered accomplished by Carolyn Bingley and Mr. Darcy? I would not be accomplished. I'm only about 50%. I would say I have 4 out of 8 of those qualities. I can dance. I know 2 languages. I think I walk okay. And I think I talk okay too. I have an okay voice. So 4 out of 8. I definitely am not musical. I don't sing, and I don't draw at all. So no, unfortunately, I would not be accomplished, but I don't think those standards hold up today. I think there's plenty of accomplished and wonderful women that don't have all of those things. This one was a really fun tag, so again, Brittany, I appreciate you for tagging me. I'm gonna tag a few people down below because I would love to see you guys do this one. You can do this one even if you're not tagged, but I want to tag a book Olive because I think that she would answer these questions really well because she just answers all the things beautifully. I want to tag Libraries and Labradors because I know Melissa loves Pride and Prejudice, one of her favorite books, so I'd love to see you do this tag, as well as Mitzi Reads and Writes. I would love to see you answer these questions as well. Really, this tag is for anyone who is a fan of Pride and Prejudice in whatever capacity that is, whether you've read the books or not. or if just watch the movies or not. So if you are a fan, I would love to see you answer these questions either by doing this tag or just answering them down below in the comments. Thank you so much for spending time with me today, and I will see you guys in another video soon. Bye!